It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us today. Anna Wayman Trujillo is with us. Normally you'd be here as a county recorder, but today you are here as clerk of the Board of Supervisors.
That is correct.
Good to have you.
No, well, it's good to be back. Thank you.
It's very nice to see you again. It's been a while. We're not talking elections today.
No, we are not.
We'll do that next week with Leslie and Lynn, but today I thought it would be interesting this year, and we've not done many of them, is to just bring in different department heads.
Okay.
And find out what you do for us in Yavapai County.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd get you in here.
Okay.
And you're so easy to talk to.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's so great to talk to you. Let's start out by just having you tell us about your job.
Okay.
And how do you like your new job?
I love my new job. I have learned a lot in my new job. You know, I worked in the recorder's office. I went there in '97, I think, and then I was elected to county recorder in 2004, and knew a great deal about the recorder's office and a couple of other departments as well. But when I moved to the clerk of the board, you really don't have a good idea of really all of the things that the county does until you have an overlook. And so what I've been doing for the last couple of years is really learning a lot of different jobs to be the clerk. And am surprised at some of the things that I didn't know that I thought that I knew when I was the recorder.
Like what?
Well, for instance, one of my jobs as clerk of the board is to help set tax rates for my special districts, because I'm the special districts coordinator as well. And as recorder, I didn't really deal with the tax rates. And so I've learned the formula to help set the tax rates for the special districts, and that was very, very interesting. And I have to tell you, I'm not a math person, so...
You got a calculator, though, right?
I have a calculator.
Right.
We have to help calculate the FDAT, which is the Federal Fire District's assistance tax that is on everybody's tax bill, and that actually, what happens is that is money that comes in from every property in the county, and then that gets redistributed through a formula in the state. And I have to work with the finance director in getting that calculated and then redistributed out. And it's very complicated. And so you have to work very closely with the fire districts to do that, but then you also have to, understand that. So that was one thing that I had never done before. I used to get my tax bill and run over to the treasurer and say, okay, explain this to me.
What does this mean?
Yeah. So that's been interesting. And also I do the Board of Equalization for the Board of Supervisors. I handle all of the procedures for the Board of Equalization and oversee that. There's actually somebody else in our office who does a lot of the scheduling and works with the state regarding that. And again, you work with limited property values and look at tax rates. And so those were things that I really had never paid attention before. So I have a little bit of a better overview on that. Doing some legislative work for the board, which I did a lot of when I was county recorder. And so I'm kind of working on some legislation, and that's always interesting, especially this time of year. The legislature just convened.
Just fired up on Monday, right?
They did.
Yeah,
they did. So it'll be interesting to see what type of bills are thrown into the hopper this year. This is an election year for the legislators, so normally this will be a short year for them because they can't campaign while they are in session.
Oh, so they don't want to get the work done.
They want to get the work done so they can get out and, start collecting money and doing what they need to do.
Now, as clerk of the board, it sounds to me like you probably have maybe a little more interaction with the different departments.
I do.
Than you did when you were county recorder?
That is correct, yeah.
You talk like all of them, I would imagine.
Well, one of my constitutional duties is to make sure that the board meets the open meeting law requirements in posting their public notices for their meetings, doing their agendas for their meetings, making sure that their minutes are proper and that they're put up in the statutory timelines that have to be met in order to do that. So I work with all of the departments in help coordinating getting the agenda put out. And that happens every 2 weeks. So, you know, we have a board meeting 1 week. And then by the end of that week, we have to finalize the agenda for the next week, because then we have to do some things and get that posted. So we are constantly doing that in the office, and so I work with a lot of the departments on that.
I think I just got mine yesterday. DeShannon sent it yesterday.
The agenda.
The Board of Supervisors agenda for Monday.
Yeah, DeShannon over in Cottonwood has been a tremendous help to us. We're a little short-handed up there, and so she's been helping us with the agendas and getting
That's
those
why her
out.
name's popping up on there.
That is why.
Okay.
So, and of course, Chris actually retired as well. Chip's assistant, Chris, retired. So DeShannon's over there and been a big help, and training some people in the office. And, you know, there is no... Interestingly enough, the cities and towns have a certificate that you can obtain to be a clerk for the cities and towns, but the county clerks do not. And there's a lot of difference between what the city and town clerks do and what the county clerks do. There's some there's some things that are actually the same. For instance, taking minutes and doing agendas, you know, certainly the process for that and meeting the open meeting law requirements is all the same. But then they have a lot of other issues that they deal with. And so, and I do a lot of things in my job at Yavapai County that a lot of the other clerks in the other counties don't do. So I handle records management as well as doing special districts. Board of Equalization is something that all of the clerks do in the counties.
Do you attend all the board meetings?
I attend all of the board meetings.
Okay. And now the board is also, maybe we should take our first break.
Okay.
Let's take our first break, okay? Clerk of the board for the board, Yavapai County Board of Supervisors, Anna Wayman Trujillo in studio today. I'm Paul David. Stick around, Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away. But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travels.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size.
We know what you told us.
There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat. Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Countywide. Great to have you in studio today. I'm Paul David. Anna Wayman Trujillo is in studio, clerk of the Board of Supervisors for Yavapai County. Real quick, the clerk, I noticed there's your picture pops up on the screen, and then there's about 4 or 5 little paragraphs there that talk about what you do for a job. Most of it I didn't understand very well. But it said the clerk sells tax sale properties that have been deeded to the state.
Yes.
Explain that one to me. So you sell property? You're a real estate agent?
Personally, no.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is it. Everything that I do is not. It's a process, and the process is something that comes about this one from another department. So every February, the Treasurer's Office holds their tax sale, and that is on taxes on property that was delinquent, I believe, for 2 years.
Okay.
So you will have people come in and pick up the tax lien on that property. There may be property that nobody will come in and pick up the lien on. It's undesirable property. It's in a creek bed or it's fallen off a cliff or something. That property will sit on the tax roll for so many years, and if the taxes are not redeemed and if nobody picks up the tax lien and ultimately forecloses out the property rights interests and then gets that property, then those properties are then deeded to the Board of Supervisors on a tax deed. And then the Board of Supervisors holds those, and anybody at any time can come in and look at the list of property, and we really don't have a lot right now. I think one of the reasons we don't is because I think a lot of people like to come in and pick up those liens from the Treasurer's Office, actually. They get paid interest back on their investment. If they come in and pick up the taxes, when the property owner comes in to redeem them, then they actually have to pay interest on that. So that's an investment, and you see a lot of investors picking those up.
Okay.
But again, most of the stuff we have is undesirable property, so people don't come in and buy it. But when you see programs on TV where they say, you know, buy a piece of property for $50 or something like that, and that's what the people, those infomercials do, is they explain to people the process on how to go in and pick up tax liens and how to go in and pick up property on supervisors' deeds. So we have the list, and if somebody wants to come in and purchase that piece of property, we always tell them that they need to do their homework on that property and make sure they go out and look at it, make sure it's not falling off a cliff. They need to probably get a title report to make sure that there's no encumbrances on there that they're going to have to pick up once they buy that property from us. But if they determine that they like the property and they want to buy it, then they can come in and just purchase that. But again, it's a long process from the time that they don't pay the taxes to the time that it gets to the supervisor's office. And we've got property, some of the property that's been sitting on there for years and years and years because it's just undesirable property.
I'll be darned. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Special districts. I saw that at the top of the page as well. Explain special districts to me. Let's get into those a little bit.
Okay. Special districts are special taxing areas in the county, and they are areas that have been petitioned by the people in the area to the Board of Supervisors to be created. So fire districts, for instance, let's take fire districts. We have a lot of fire districts in Yavapai County. They are not fire departments. Usually fire departments are part of an incorporated city or town, and they have a fire chief, and probably that fire chief reports to the mayor and council of a city or town.
Okay.
Fire districts are created when you have a group of people who come together and say, we are not in an incorporated city and town. We don't have fire protection. We want to create a fire department in this area. They will go out and gather signatures on petitions. There's a very specific process set forth in statute. If they gather the amount of signatures on petitions, they have to bring that to the clerk of the board. They also have to go to the assessor's office and get impact statements on what the potential tax impact will be if that district is created, because the cost of that district will be billed to the property owners, usually via their taxes that they pay. It'll be an extra tax code on their property bill, and they will get billed for that through the taxes. Sometimes you have to have an election to create the district.
But not always.
But not always. If you get a certain percentage of people who sign the petitions over and above.
Is it 50 plus 1%?
Well, 50 plus 1% is not enough to just create a district by itself. Okay. Usually it's 2/3.
Okay, 2/3.
And even in some instances, if you get 2/3, and there's so many different districts, I'm just using fire districts as an example, that I would hate to say yes or no. And usually when people call me, I have to look at the statutes again and do research, because each district has a different setup. Each district can be formed a different way.
Okay. So that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Oh, Title 48's about this big, and so they've got, well, for instance, the Red Rock Road Maintenance Enhancement District over in Sedona, which covers part of 89 over in the village of Oak Creek.
Okay.
That's set up totally different than a fire district would be.
Oh, that's where the residents are taking care of
Absolutely.
the median down the middle of 179 through the BOC.
That's right. Yeah, 179. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's set up totally different, and they have totally different statutes that govern them from the fire districts.
Okay.
So, but once a fire district is set up, if it's approved by the constituents in the area that are going to be taxed for it, then you would have a private, independent, I don't want to say private, but an independent board of directors that is made up usually from the constituents in the area, and then they sit on that board and they govern that entity as an entity, just like a city or town would have been created through incorporation.
But it's its own entity.
It's its own entity.
Okay.
The Board of Supervisors has very little oversight. There are some specific times when they can come in and do some specific things if the entity, if the district is not doing that. But I get phone calls all the time from people saying that they are not, they're not following the open meeting laws properly, that they don't feel that they're governing the entity properly, and there really is not a whole lot that the Board of Supervisors can do. One of the things that people can do if they think that they're...
I was going to say, yeah, okay, so if you're the wrong person to call, the supervisor's the wrong people to contact, then what do you do in that case?
Well, if you feel like they're violating the open meeting laws, the Attorney General's office actually has on their website, it's called OMLET, it's the Open Meeting Law something team, and you can go onto the Arizona Attorney General's website and file complaints against your district for that, and they will actually investigate whether or not they feel they are violating the open meeting laws. And there's, you know, for instance, if you are not doing your budget properly, that is really a violation of open meeting law. So there's a lot of things that you can complain to the Attorney General about regarding these districts. And I do know instances where not only have the Attorney General's office investigated, but they have come down and actually set forth violations against districts. And I think Sedona Fire District, we talked about this, was a big one that happened a couple of years ago.
Sure, I've seen that throughout the years as doing the news. I've seen that come up numerous times.
Numerous times, and there's some very heavy fines that could happen personally against the board of directors who are sitting. If they have violated those open meeting laws, you know, they can actually go back, and any decision that the board of directors had made while violating that, they can overturn those. I mean, there's a lot of things. So when you have a board of directors, they have the same responsibilities as a board of supervisor does, or as a council member or mayor does, and you do have to follow these. And sometimes in some of these smaller districts, the water districts or sanitary districts, I think they kind of forget that. So it's a fine line I walk. I'm not an attorney. I can't give out legal advice. I can't set forth, you know, direction or directives to any of the board of directors, but we try and guide them as much as we can within the boundaries of the law, you know. And
that's where you come in. When they're forming a district, you kind of come in and set all that stuff up for them.
That is correct. They have to file any of the original formation documents with me, and then depending again on which type of district it is, sometimes you have to set a hearing, then you have to go out and gather the signatures on petitions. Sometimes you just have to go out and gather the signatures on petitions and then come to me and bring them in. Sometimes it has to be all checked with the voter registration department to make sure that they're qualified electors, but water districts, you don't have to be a qualified elector in that district. You can be a qualified elector in the state and own property in the district.
I'm glad you love all this stuff.
So that's why when people call me and they say, I need to know this, I usually say to them, I'm going to check statute and get back with you, because I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right statute.
Sure, sure. What do people call you the most for? What's your number one duty?
People call me the most for? Well, special districts is a biggie. Right now we're actually collecting the annual reports for some of the special districts, so we're working on that. We've got elections coming up with special districts. I oversee a portion of the elections for special districts. We do a lot of troubleshooting in our office. We have people call and
Give it some thought. We have to take a break. I'm actually late.
Okay.
Okay, I'm getting a wave. So let's do that. Anna Wayman Trujillo, the clerk of the Board of Supervisors, is in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Ronnie had huge aspirations.
He knew he could get pills in the community.
He found his body in an apartment in Telford.
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
I would steal pills from my friend's mom.
We talk about all the common drugs, but never prescription medication.
I was addicted to pills.
Had I more knowledge, I would have done things differently.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're in our final segment of the program. Anna Wayman Trujillo in studio today. She's the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. I'm trying to talk way too fast this morning, and I've got to slow down. What's the most difficult part of your job?
The most difficult part of my job? You know, I handle the Board of Equalization, and that, as we had discussed, is a process where people can come in and appeal their tax valuations to the Board of Equalization, and that's statutory. After they work with the assessor's office, if they're not happy with the outcome, they can appeal to the Board of Supervisors. That's a process that actually starts now with the assessor sending out their valuations, and will go until November. And it's a very intricate process. You need to meet a lot of statutes for that. Legislation is another one that I work on, and this time of year, again, really you have to be on your toes. I try and look at all the legislation that's been introduced and go through and see if there's things that are pertinent to the county that might be devastating to the county. We work with the County Supervisors Association. They are the one that actually handles a lot of the legislative issues for us in all of the 15 counties, not just Yavapai County. And so I work with them on that as well. And when I was recorder, I knew the recorder statutes very well. You know, I get legislation in on, for instance, court-ordered evaluations. And so I work with our county administrator and deputy county administrator to figure out where we need to go, which department we need to go to figure out if they want to look at that legislation and if they can give back some feedback. And so that's, right now, this time of year, it's very, very fast and furious, especially while bills are being dropped.
And the budget process is going on, too.
Budget process is going on. I would do the special district budgets. I also help a little with the county budget, but really Phil does a lot of that. The county administrator, Phil Bardon, does a lot of that, but and Donna Fagan, who's our budget analysis person as well. But I also have input on that. We do suggestions, you know, and so.
Busy lady.
Yeah.
Well, it was great seeing you.
It's really good seeing you
Thanks
as well.
for coming in. Anna Wayman Trujillo, clerk of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.